Well, hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Wet and Windy Allotment. Okay, so whilst it's not raining and it's not too windy, I can only apologise if it does get a little bit windy. If it does, as I'm going round, I'll try and shield the mic a little bit. But just to let you know what's going on in the greenhouse, I've made some more of these surfaces that you saw last week. I will be making some more, but just so I can get things going, I've sort of moved things about, so I've got a bit of a surface there. So basically I made these, you saw me do that one in the last video. I've made another couple, and I've got some more pallets to take apart and stuff next week to make some more. You can see the wind. I don't know if you can see the old weather vanes are spinning around merrily, so I think it's a little bit windy. This bit, look here, looks a complete mess at the moment because I'm halfway through potting up, which is some of the clips you'll see. So basically I've got these kale, which was the purple one. Hang on, I've got the seeds here. This one doesn't seem to have done particularly well. As you know, I've just potted up all of the broccoli that went in at exactly the same time as that, and as you can see the difference. So what I'm going to do is do another tray of them because they just haven't germinated very well at all. I don't know if it's because of the weather or what, but these have germinated. They haven't. They're both brassicas, so they should have been okay. So they're the strawberry, alpine strawberries, which I've planted last year. They haven't flowered or fruited yet, apart from one, but I'll see how they go. But as you can see, and if you can see just at this corner here, there are some little flowers forming there. So fingers crossed we might get something from them. The hydrangeas, as you can see, I'll just sit on here. The hydrangeas, as you can see, are coming on quite nicely. I've not seen any life yet from these that are potted up. I can't remember the name now. But basically there's no life there yet. The lavender is doing reasonably well. As you can see, this little plant at the front here, that's actually rosemary. As you can see, it's actually in flower. So it's quite unusual sort of this time of year to get rosemary flower. But obviously it's because it's in the that's a cutting I took at the end of last year, and so I haven't pulled the flowers off. I thought they were quite nice, so I've left them on. But that's the lavender that's sort of starting to come through. I need to cut them back a little bit because some of them are a little bit woody. So what I'll do is I'll just get a pair of scissors and chop off the sort of the woody bits to try and encourage them along a little bit. I think I've possibly lost a couple during the winter, but anyway, that's the lavender and that's the rosemary there. The lavender cuttings I took last week are over here. As you can see, the seedlings here, there's the thyme, the basil, and the marjoram. They're all doing really well. That's the seeds I've obviously put in this week, so there's some clips on there. Now the trees are doing really well in the greenhouse. I need to put these out shortly, as soon as I've got the ground prepared. But as you can see, those are doing really well. So that's pretty much it for the greenhouse at the moment. Now I apologise for the wind if it starts to get windy now. Those are the jostoberry bushes. You can see they're really springing into life. Coming along here, there's some old compost that I fetched out of pots. The comfrey that I put in last week, as you can see, is really started to shoot off, so that's really taken. This one here seems to be struggling a little bit. I think that's possibly got less root on it than the rest, but this is the rosemary that Doug gave me, so that's doing really well. The strawberries are coming through, as you can see. There's plenty of growth on them. Just zoom in for you. As you can see, the leaves are nice and healthy and there's plenty of them. So there is the odd position that's free, as in, you know, the plant didn't go through the winter. So I've got some, as you know, I've got some young strawberry plants here. So what I'll be doing is I'll be cutting all the leaves off these shortly and putting them in the greenhouse, bringing them on a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll put these in any holes that are there. The just moving around here, those are the chives that I put in last week or the week before. So they seem to be going all right. They were only kind of about 1 inch high when I put them in, and they're now coming up to 6 inches. So I can potentially crop some of that now. The comfrey here, which is the video I did on comfrey, that's doing really well. What I might do is just put a bit of compost or something to mulch those, just to, you know, to give them a bit of a boost, obviously because they've lost you know, quite a few of their roots. But I'll possibly put a bit of something on them just to bring them on. They don't like soil that's too rich, so I'm not going to put any fertiliser on. But what I might do is just put a bit of compost around the top, just to give them a bit of a you know, a bit of a leg up whilst they're getting themselves established. Asparagus, no sign of that yet. I've weeded through here this week, believe it or not, and pulled all the raspberries out and stuff like that. So I will possibly need to go over it again. There's still a few sort of weeds here and there. Sorry about the wind. It's quite windy today. We have had quite a bit of rain today. Earlier in the week I had a fire. I took a clip of that. It'll either be in this video or the next one. Weather vanes. Now, today I've rotivated. Today and last night I rotivated all of this. Obviously this has all been dug over. So this is where the potatoes are going this year. So that's all been rotivated nice and fine. I've taken out half of the raspberries on this this row here, as you can see. So I'll be taking out the rest of them shortly and burning them off and sort of cleaning all that up. This is the spinach beet. That's really coming through now, so I'll be able to start taking that. Now this will be good for about another month before it runs to seed, so it's really worthwhile. You know, it's one of the first greens of the year, spinach beet. So obviously as soon as that's finished, what I'll do is I'll just take the rotavator up there and just rotivate all that over, but that'll be, or I'll just dig it over or whatever, I don't know. But obviously the potatoes will be going in there. What I may well have to do is plant the potatoes around these and then take them out and then put another row of potatoes in afterwards. So this has all been rotivated as well. This was done this morning. So that obviously the potatoes are going to go from the top there all the way down to about here. So that from there to here is going to be potatoes. I'm putting in about 14 rows this year. Now the broccoli is just coming on. We're going to have some of this tomorrow. To be honest with you, I'm a bit underwhelmed by this year's crop. But as you can see, we've got some nice broccoli heads here coming. So the ones that have come through the winter have done well, but we've lost quite a few along the way. Obviously these ones here we've lost, and you can see, look, we've got some nice ones coming there as well. So we will have plenty for dinner tomorrow. But to be honest with you, it's rather underwhelming this year. I normally get well, the plant's normally a lot healthier than this, and I don't know if I've got a bit of club root, but I was having a look around yesterday, and if you look at here, that looks like club root to me. So I've possibly got a bit of club root in this ground, which is unfortunate. So I think that's the problem that I've had. This year coming, these will be. Just step over there. I've actually rotivated that bit this morning. They're going to be going here next year, and I know this year, and I know for a fact there's no club root in this bit here. So all being well, I should be okay. Not last year, the year before, the raspberries were actually there. That's before I moved the raspberries onto the top there. So I wasn't expecting club root, to be honest with you, but for some reason I've got club root in there. I can only assume, as I've said before in earlier videos, I think the club root's come in off the potting compost, because I've had this allotment now for, this is the 11th year, and I have never grown brassicas there before, and yet there's club root. So I can only assume that they've picked the club root up from the potting compost. Anyway, I've rotivated all of this. This is where the potatoes were last year. The potatoes are going to come to about here this year. So all of this here, this tunnel's going to move to here. So that tunnel will come to here, and then this part here, which I've dug over this morning, this here, that's where the onions are going to go. So what I'm going to be doing this weekend, all being well, assuming that it doesn't chuck it down with rain, is this tunnel is going to move over to here, next to this one, like it was last year, next to each other, and I'm going to be planting the onions in here, hopefully in the next week. So that's why I've got all this rotivated. As soon as I've moved the tunnel, I'll be rotivating that where that tunnel is there, and obviously leave the purple sprouting broccoli as it is for now. I'll pull out any that have obviously gone bad. This one at the end here that's clearly got club root, I'll obviously dig that out and possibly some of the soil around it and dispose of that in the bin, but just to try and control it as best I can. What I'll do is I'll move up systematically up the row, and any that have got club root, I'll obviously deal with them accordingly. But this part rotivated over really well. It's quite dry. It's gone down into a nice sort of loose sort of tilt. So there's a lot of organic material gone in here. There's a lot of muck. There's a lot of straw and some wood chippings as well. And there's also a reasonable amount of compost dug in here. So this should be really fertile ground. Likewise with the top here, you can tell by the height of it how much stuff's gone in. You'll see that bit over there in a moment when I go around, but you can see how high the soil is at the moment. It's a good sort of 6 or 8 inches above the path, and as the year goes on, that will most certainly be below the path. Even though it's been dug, obviously there's a lot of airness at the moment. There's a lot of chicken muck, wood chippings, compost and all sorts of stuff going in there, so I should have a really good crop of potatoes this year. Right, just moving down here, I've done nothing in here. That's because the brassicas are going in here. I'm not going to rotivate this because brassicas like nice firm soil, so all I'm going to do is just basically I'll get in here, just fork this over, get any weeds out. There's a few dandelions at the top there, there's just the odd weed here and there. What I'll do is I'll clear all this out, and then basically the ground will be nice and sort of firm as you want it for brassicas. So that's where the broccoli and the kale is going to go this year in there. This bit here, these Swedes here, I've kind of given up, to be honest with you. They don't seem to be doing much, and they're probably going to start to go woody now. So all of this is going to come out very shortly, and I'm going to rotivate, dig and rotivate all this over. Still got a few parsnips up the top there, but they'll be coming out very shortly. Now the rhubarb is coming. As you can see, the rhubarb's starting to come through. As you can see, there's little bits all over coming over. Now this has had, if you haven't seen any of the early videos, this has had it's had 6 inches of chicken muck, and it's had about 6 inches of wood chip put on it. So that'll be keeping the moisture in there and giving it nutrition. But you can see they're all coming through. So this will be keeping the ground nice and warm. You can see the heads forming there. Now what I'm going to be doing is forcing rhubarb. If you do live in the UK, you don't realise how lucky we are with rhubarb. We in Britain we grow possibly about 80% of the world's rhubarb. We've got the ideal situation or the right conditions to grow rhubarb. It is quite a natural, naturally growing plant in Britain. But what I'm going to be doing is forcing this, and basically, if you're going to grow rhubarb seriously, you're going to need this much of it, and because basically what you do is you force it every 3 years. And what I say by forcing it, what I'm going to be doing now, these leaves have started to come up. Last year I forced the plant at the end there, and I forced the plant that was here. Now when you force it, what you do is basically put a dustbin on top of it, or a large container. What I do is put one of the composting bins on top, and that basically makes the rhubarb grow inside it, and it grows long and thin, sweet, pink, and nice and tender. And that's the best rhubarb you can get for for puddings and stuff like that. The rest of it I let to grow normally. So if you want to grow rhubarb seriously, you need at least three clumps of it, so you can force one every year if you like. If you've just got a little patch, really, you're only going to get rhubarb every 3 years. You're wasting your time really. So, but anyway, that's the rhubarb. I'm going to move around because I know it's quite windy. I hope you can hear me. This was rotivated last night. As you can see, there's quite a lot of straw in there. I used my new rake as well that I made earlier on in the year. But now the calendulas I was talking about earlier, you can see them here, look. There you go, look, that's a calendula. And they're everywhere. This is where they obviously were last year. And you can see them all in the road here. But that's all been dug over. This has had probably about 6 inches of chicken muck on it. And that's all been dug in, rotivated and all the rest of it. This area here was the bit that was quite bad. Obviously this has all been rotivated as well. And I've given this a really good rotivating. I went over it 3 times, and as you can see, it's nicely broken up and all ready to go. Now the beans are going to go along here. So as you saw earlier on in the year, I dug a bean trench along here and filled that with compost. That's all been buried now and rotivated, ready to go. Now I have got a bit of a mound of soil here, which I realised, which is basically me digging and all the rest of it. So what I need to do is move some of this back. I've got a bit of a hole here. And I've got a bit of a mound here, so basically I need to move all that down to there to level this ground off. So the beans will be along the path here, like that, to the end of this first tunnel. And then in this bit at the back here, I'll be growing the pumpkins and the squashes, and then the sweet corn's going to be going sort of over there, and I'll be having some of the bits and bobs in the front there. So that's the side there. And as you can see, there's lots of levelling needs to be done with regards to soil. I need to sort of move that over there to get it all nice and level again. This is the bit that gets boggy in my allotment. So what I've done is I've dug in there, and I'm not exaggerating now, I've dug in about 15 or 20 barrows full of wood chip, which is well rotted wood chip. This is a bit of it here, look. That's all been dug in, and it's also had probably about a ton of chicken muck in there, and all that's been dug in and sort of buried in that. So I should have a nice bit of ground here now to be growing stuff on for this year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, as I've always said, you know, start with the ground and everything else will all fall into place. This is the other side of where the onions are going to go. Sorry, the tunnel's going to go there. The onions are going to go here. So that's all dug ready for the onions to go in. As I say, this tunnel's going to move over down there in the next day or so, and I'll get all this dug over, this sort of final bit here, where the purple sprouting broccoli isn't, and I'll get that ready then for the potatoes. So I've just got a bit of digging to do there. But as you can see, the majority of it's done. Now, if I show you from here, you can see how high the soil is. It's a good, this side, the soil's got to be a good foot above the path. Now that's because I've dug so much stuff in here. As you know, as I say, there's been a good sort of 10 wheelbarrows of sort of organic matter gone in here to improve the quality of the ground, and more importantly to improve the moisture retention within the soil, because this is where I'm going to be growing the potatoes this year. So there's been lots of muck, lots of organic material, lots of straw, lots of wood chip, lots of anything I can get my hands on basically has gone in there, and that's going to serve as well for the potatoes. So the potatoes are going to love this. As you can see, that's the bit that I dug. This is the bit I dug around Christmas time, and look how that's broken up really nice and fine. This is the bit I dug 2 weeks ago, and it's quite lumpy and bumpy, because basically it's a lot wetter than it is here. So what I'm going to do is rotivate this bit again, so it breaks up nice and loose like this side here, and then that's all ready to go then. I'm not going to bother raking it because the potatoes are going in here, so they'll all be obviously in ridges and troughs and stuff. So also what I'm going to do is these sort of slabs that we've got down here, I'm going to be taking them out, because there's no raspberries here now. There's not a lot of point in having a path, to be honest with you, because obviously I can get to the trees from this side where this path is here. So I'm going to be taking up those sort of 4 or 5 slabs at the end there, and I'm going to be digging right the way up to these posts here. So the first lot of sort of potatoes are going to go in kind of here, and then so I can get an extra row of potatoes in. Because I'm putting so many potatoes in, I'm worried I'm going to run out of room, and I'm just going to have a potato allotment if I'm not careful. So I'm going to start them here, basically where that barrel is. That's going to be the end of the row there, and then I'm going to be taking the rows up there. So basically this first half you can see here is going to be all potatoes. The raspberries are starting to come, as you can see. There's some shoots there. All of these at the front here are going to go. They're all going to be taken out in the next week or so and burnt. All of the ash that, sorry, that's something else. All of the ash out of the burner and the barbecue from last year that I've saved has all gone in here and has all been dug in as well. So there's a lot of ash in this ground here now as well. And we're back to where we started from, really. So that's the allotment as it is at the moment. I still need to sort out these paths here. I've still got a few weeds and stuff, but it's starting to look nice and tidy. So slowly but surely we're getting there. But this weekend the clocks go, the clocks change, so we get an extra hour at night. So I can most certainly get some more time in on the allotment in the week to sort out various bits and bobs. I'm going to be strengthening both tunnels shortly. Because I'm going to put some more steel in the middle to basically to strengthen them all up, and so that's one of the projects that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And obviously I'm going to continue to make the rest of the surfaces for the greenhouse. So that's the allotment today. Okay, so now I'm going to plant the leeks. Now these are from Mr. Fothergill. And these are, as you can see, these are a blue-green winter Tadorna, and really by rights I should have sown these a little bit earlier. Now you can sow leeks, you know, kind of from January all the way up to March, and I always sow them indoors. And what you need to do with leeks is always have a nice long pot, because the roots of leeks are quite long. Now what you want in here is a nice sort of well drained compost, and you don't want it to be too sort of tight. So what I tend to do is fill up the pot quite loosely, as you can see there. You know, the compost is quite loose. Just give it a tap round just to get it to go down. Now I'm only going to be growing one row of leeks, so you know, basically in a row of leeks you're probably going to have about, I don't know, 20-25 plants, so this will be more than enough for me for this year. So in here I've got about 150 seeds. I'm probably only going to need to sow probably about a third of them. So what I can do is, because these are good till 2018, what I can do is save some seeds for next year. So I'm just tapping the seeds down to the bottom. As I say, you know, you're not too late to sow these, but really with leeks you want to give them as long a growing season as you possibly can do. But you'll be harvesting these really sort of next spring, and I always think leek seeds look a bit like, well, to be honest with you, they look a bit like mouse poo. If you can see, that's what they kind of look like. They look like small black sort of shriveled up things. Now there's more than enough seeds there, but what I'm going to do is just put a few more in just to edge me bet, just in case I don't get 100% germination. That's kind of more than enough. I can't believe there's 150 in there, to be honest with you. But anyway, so as I say, you know, really you need to sow these, you know, sort of not particularly deep. You want about sort of 1.5 centimetres, which is kind of about half an inch, if you're looking imperial. Now all I'm going to do is basically take a pinch of these and sort of spread them around evenly within the pot, and these will grow quite happily in here now for the next kind of sort of 6 weeks or so. So you need to use a good quality compost. I don't typically use seed compost for leeks. I normally use just normal. This is actually a mixture. I've got some, it's about 50% Miracle Grow and 50% sort of like a peaty based compost. I can't remember the name of it now. I'll put it across the bottom of the screen, but I'm just going to very lightly sprinkle some more compost over the top. As I say, you know, you need about ½ an inch or so, and obviously, you know, think about by the time you've compressed it down. Now, all I'm going to do is just very sort of quickly just tap that round, so that you get rid of all the. Now, all I'm going to do is get a pot a similar size, yeah, and all I'm going to do is just push that in to the top very gently, and that's all the pressure you need. You don't need to put too much pressure on there. Now, all I'm going to do now is basically label these up and give them sort of a bit of water out of the. Obviously, as I've said before, with seeds, always use tap water, so you don't need a lot of water to get them going, really, with leeks. But what I would do is give them a reasonably good soak. 'Cause obviously, you know, it's a big pot, you know, so it's not like it's a seed tray or anything like that. You're not going to drown them. But with leeks, you know, you don't want to sort of have them sitting in water as such. So that'll be more than enough to get them going. Really, you know, you need to consider they're in the kind of the top sort of ½ inch of the compost. So that's more than enough. I'm not going to put anything more on than that. I might put a small piece of glass over the top of the pot just to get them going. But as you can see, they're about 1.5 to 2 inches down in the pot. Now, all I do though is put them in a nice warm position in the greenhouse and leave them to grow. And I'll be planting these out probably in about 4 or 5, 6 weeks time, when it's basically when they've grown to kind of, I don't know, about 6 inches high. That's when they'll be ready to plant out. And basically all you need when you plant them out is basically turn them out of the pot, and then what I like to do is just put them in a bucket of water just to loosen off the compost from the roots, and then you can tease them apart and then basically just dip them in the ground, and then away you'll go. I never sow them actually in the open ground. I always grow them in a pot like this, and then I sort of put them out. Some people tend to trim the roots. I never bother with that. All I do is just dip down about 6 inches or so, 6 to 9 inches in the ground, dip them in, and then basically just water in the hole, and then all the hole will collapse down onto the roots, and just leave them to it then. So that's the leeks done for this year. So, Mother Nature Part 17. Today I just want to quickly talk about garden hygiene, and this is really one of the 5 golden rules for organic gardening. And it's all about hygiene in a garden is all about removing any sort of dead material or any diseased plants or anything like that, or sort of plant material. And it is a little bit more work, but basically what you need to do is when you're walking around your plot, if you see any plants that have got any discoloured leaves or any sort of disease or any kind, of any kind, you need to basically remove those leaves from the plant and either burn them or sort of dispose of them. And obviously I wouldn't recommend that you sort of compost them, because you could potentially be storing the disease for next season. So a really good example of this is the strawberries. Strawberries suffer from a sort of fungal problem where you get sort of spots on the leaves, and the actual plants themselves will grow okay with the problem. But if you go over your strawberries, if you've got any leaves that are discoloured or anything like that, the best thing to do from an organic point of view, growing organically, is to actually remove those leaves and put them in, either incinerate them or put them in your recycling rubbish to take away. The other thing with sort of hygiene for your garden, it's all about keeping a good airflow going over your plant. Now today, as you could probably hear, the wind blowing. The one thing that you need to avoid are the conditions in which things like fungus and sort of diseases and stuff like that will sort of spread and grow. When you think of things like blight and stuff like that, they always come in sort of the 2nd, 3rd week of July, and that's because it's warm and it's wet. Now, if you if you keep a really good ventilated plot, so you know your plants aren't too close together, so the air can flow around them. You know, you're not going to get that build-up of moisture in the air, and basically you're reducing the chance. You're not going to stop it, but you're going to reduce the chance of blight and that forming on your potatoes and tomatoes and stuff like that. So, you know, hygiene also means sort of keeping not only keeping all of the you know, if you see any disease or anything like that, you remove it straight away, either the whole plant or the you know, the leaves that are affected. But also the you know, you're keeping a good healthy airflow through to keep the moisture down around the plants, which is basically where the fungus and stuff like that can you know, sort of grow and thrive. The other thing is as well that I just sort of quickly mention at the end is things like clubroot and stuff like that. If you have got a plant that, as I've shown you this week, I don't know if it's gone out in the first video or the second video, a couple of the purple sprouting broccoli plants have got clubroot. And what I'll actually do is dig out the plant and all of its roots and some of the soil around it and just dispose of it. And basically what you're doing is you're removing the clubroot from the ground. Now again, clubroot is a fungal disorder which sits in the ground, and by taking out that bit of ground, I'm also taking out all of the spores of the fungus out of the ground. And all I'll do is basically dig that out with a spade. You know, the plant and all the surrounding soil around it, probably about a spade's worth of soil, and I'll just dispose of it. I'll put it in a bag and take it down the tip. You know, I'm not going to miss you know, a spade full of soil, but I will miss, you know, all my brassicas going if you know, if that's the you know, if that part of the ground is sort of infected by clubroot. Now, as I've said, you know, up until 2 years ago, I had the raspberries in that area along there, and the raspberries were there for about 10 years, you know, and I didn't have any brassicas growing there at all, so I would be very surprised that clubroot is in the soil there. Now, if you look at the Royal Horticultural Society, they actually state that clubroot can be in the ground for 20 years, I will say that. From experience, I would say it's probably in the ground for about 6 or 7 years, which is more, you know, sort of more likely, unless the ground's absolutely completely infected by it. But the Royal Horticultural Society actually recommend that you leave the ground for 20 years and don't grow any brassicas in there to get rid of all of the clubroot fungi. So I honestly don't think that clubroot was in that ground, so I'm quite surprised that the brassicas have suffered with it, or at least a couple of them have. So what I'm going to be doing is, as soon as I've, because I'm putting potatoes in there, I'm not going to lime the ground this year, but I'll most certainly, at the end of the season when I take the potatoes out, I'll most certainly lime all of that ground again, because lime will actually not kill, but it'll reduce the you know, the fungal spores in the you know, in the ground. So hygiene in the garden is all about removing any disease and making sure that you minimise the conditions where disease, fungus and stuff like that can grow. So keep your garden well ventilated, don't sort of pen things in too much, and if you've got any diseased plants, just pull them out and get rid of them. You know, don't compost them, get them in the bin and get rid. So that's Mother Nature Part 17, and that's all about garden hygiene. So I hope this episode of Jim's Allotment Garden has been of some use to you. Please do put any comments or questions that you've got below. Until next time, from me and Dorothy, bye bye.